Good morning and welcome everybody to the Sunrise Safari on this, I believe, the 17th, is it, of April in the year of our Lord 2018. The sun has yet to peep up over the eastern horizon. It is the 19th, in fact. Hooray! I was closer to payday than I thought I was. My name is James Hendry. And on camera today we have got Umzulu from KwaZulu. Sizwe. Senzo Mkhize. Okay, on the other vehicles we've got Stivovo. He is being filmed by David, who managed to get out of bed today, which is a great relief to all concerned. And then on foot, Ralph, he of the long blonde surfing locks, is going looking for hyena dens, I believe, which is marvellous. There are some babblers calling over there, and our plan from here is to try and find some lions that were calling quite vociferously about, I'd say, half an hour to 45 minutes ago. Now, of course, lions that are calling are often moving, and therefore it is quite possible they have walked off our little patch here, our patch of 1,200 acres or hectares or so. That is Djuma Private Game Reserve, but we'll go and have a look down towards the east, and thank you to all of you, forgot my words today, for your patient paying attention to the dam cam and the lion contact calling that happened around there, certainly around 4 o'clock. It's about 18 degrees Celsius, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. There isn't a cloud in the sky. Well, there are a few wisps, but not much. And so I think we're in for another glorious autumn day here in the Lowveld of South Africa. And in case you're wondering, in the final control we have Kirsten on the Vox, and on the keys I think is Alicia. Is that correct? Alicia Keys is on the keys. Isn't that fantastic? Alicia is from America. That's why I'm doing my very bad American accent. She won't be smiling now. She'll be shaking her head in despair. Who can blame her? The smells of the morning, absolutely delightful. We had a little bit of sort of herby smell, I guess. I don't know why. I think all of the smells sink into the dips during the night, and they create the sort of rich potpourri of morning smells. Speaking of rich potpourris, I'm not sure why I should be speaking of rich potpourris in terms of Ralph, but we're going to go to him now, and he's going to introduce himself. I hope he smells good.
Yes, thank you, James, and good morning, everybody, and welcome out here on the nice fresh bush walk. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got Fergus, and we've also got our expert tracker here, Aubrey, who's been here since time immortal, and he's going to be helping me this morning trying to find where there's a live hyena den, because I know that there's been quite a lot of interest around with all the viewers, and you know that's one of my favorite things to do is hang out with the hyenas. So that's what we're going to be doing this morning. We're going to work in the areas around the Galago Pan. There's always a lot of calling around camp in the early hours of the morning. So in my mind, and sorry, Steve is just here near to us. We've just headed out from camp. Steve's going to pass by us, and that's the vehicle going there. There's been so much activity near to camp, so that's why we actually everybody heading a little bit around here. Now please don't forget to join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Send us your questions and your comments, and join us on the largest bushwalk in the world. So Aubrey's already headed out, tried to pick up on some tracks, and the sounds and sounds. We're really going to be excited if we can pick up on some fresh tracks of those hyenas. So while we do that and trying to pick up on some fresh evidence of those spotted customers of ours, let's head you on over to Steve, because he'd love to say good morning.
Good morning everybody, and welcome once again. My name is Steve Falcons. I'm joined on camera by David on a very cool 18 degrees Celsius, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. It is very nice and fresh out here this morning. And we had some very fresh leopard tracks. We've done a loop around quarantine. We heard some alarm calls just up ahead here, or Jared did when he came from the staff accommodation earlier. We've done a big loop. We didn't find anything. The animals seemed to be a little bit jumpy, but we did have what we think was Hosanna at the new village yesterday outside of Rebecca's room. They got a photo of him outside of their window, and we've got tracks. We've just passed them. We're going in two directions. We've just been chatting with the bushwalk team, giving them an idea of what we've seen. We're going to continue on here. I'll see if maybe we can find some more tracks. When I did my first loop around quarantine here, there was I didn't see any tracks, but it was quite dark. I was using my spotlight, but we're going to have another little look. And let's see how these wildebeest are behaving. They look a little bit jumpy in the morning, but who knows what we might find. The little chief is probably somewhere around here chasing impala and wildebeest up and down. So please send through your questions. Hashtag Safari Live. Let us know how you're doing this morning and what you would like to see. The marvelous start to the day. So the fresh tracks are there coming in both directions. It's very hard for me to say which one is fresher. As these two wildebeest over here have a little bit of a jostle. Let's have a look what they're doing. They're all having a bit of a jostle. Soon the males are going to be competing quite heavily for the females, and the male who's got their territory will do everything in his power to keep females within his territory so as to get the mating rights to them. Similarly, the male impala are starting to, as we know, get very, very feisty. But there's not too much here. There's guinea fowl, there's impala, there's wildebeest. They're all quite relaxed at the moment. But as we know, an animal that might pass by, these predators might pass by and they relax very, very quickly. Well, it seems that Ralph is also on foot and he has managed to find impala. Let's go see what they're up to.
Yes, thanks, Steve. And, well, everyone, have a look at this. There's a lot of impala here just in front of me, and they're all up on the termite mound. Now, there was a lot of alarm calling from monkeys and from the impala, and they often work in tandem like that when they possibly pick up on some sounds or spot a predator in the area. So before sunrise, lots of alarm calling around here, and so they're all on edge and maybe just taking a little bit of a high point there and trying to keep a little bit away from the predator, which was obviously moving around. And as Steve said a little bit earlier, Hosanna was just behind camp. Rebecca spotted it just behind, through her window, and apparently actually just outside her door. They had to scuttle into the room. But now, as we've walked along the road, we've also found a little track of a female leopard. So maybe that's the reason he's actually pulled into the area. Maybe not, but it seems a little bit of a coincidence. And not so much of a coincidence that these impala now are all very skittish, all up on the termite mound. They seem to be a little bit more relaxed than they were a couple of minutes ago. So maybe the predator's actually shifted off. A little bit over to the side, we've also got some giraffe, but he might be behind that bush there. But we could always just have a look over here, Ferg. There's a giraffe just over the side here. Maybe Ferg can just come with me, and we'll. He's up on a nice big vantage point there, lovely like a sentry, and I'm sure we'll see him poking his head now over the top of the leaves there. There we go. Looks like a nice big bull just up in front here. There he is, and he's watching us. He's probably also been worried about this leopard or lion that's in the area. And with him being around, it's a nice good help for the impala as well, because he'll be watching from up high. Looks like he is watching us, watching him. There doesn't seem to be too much else going on. I think this predator has possibly moved off. It's not as edgy as it was a little bit earlier. But lovely, the sun hasn't even come up yet, and we've had all this action. Wow, what else could happen along this bushwalk this morning? We're already starting to hear the dawn chorus of all the birds, and fantastic. The smells so crisp. What a fresh, fantastic morning. But look at this giraffe. Lovely patterns on his coat. Quite a dark, good-looking male, probably in his prime. Thanks for your comments, everybody, saying how much we appreciate the giraffe. Well, it's always fantastic to see giraffe, especially out on bushwalk. They get very curious, and they often come close. They're one of the animals that you can get reasonably close to when you're on foot. And there, he's totally relaxed now. You see how he's probably doing a little bit of grooming. With that nice long tail of his as well there, just keeping to swat the flies around the back end. It's a wonderful fly swat that giraffe has as a tail. Net, thanks for sending in your comment. It is a wonderful sighting, isn't it? And what a graceful animal that is. And I always love to watch giraffe as they walk, because very similar to the animal that we're searching for this morning, exactly like hyena, where they walk right side and left side together. If you watch as he walks, Ferg looking at him as he walks, you see the left side, right side, right side, exactly the same as the crocutta. So we're going to be looking for that. Wonderful. Ravi, giraffe are not aggressive towards humans at all, and that was what you were wondering. We could actually get very close to a giraffe, and we wouldn't worry about it at all. The only real dangerous giraffe is one that is in captivity, and they've lost their fear of humans. They're very curious of us, but those ones in captivity, they can get a little bit aggressive, especially bulls that do become a bit frustrated. And I've actually had a few of them try to mount my Land Rover. They get frustrated and so on. But these animals in the bush like this, we don't need to fear them at all. They're not a problem. They're quite skittish. They're quite scared. They're quite timid animals. So, from one giraffe to another, let's head on over to Steve, who I think is a little bit closer.
We're not talking about giraffe, Ralph. We've got oxpeckers here. A youngster who's just flown up and an adult on the floor. It's not often you see oxpeckers on the floor. And oh my word, something hiding in the bushes. What is that? Indeed, it is a giraffe, a male giraffe, and you can hear he's got a whole lot of oxpeckers on him. They are chitting and chirping and making all sorts of noises as they scour through his very thin fur for all the different ticks and larvae that will be no doubt munching on him. There is a young red-billed oxpecker. You can see the dark beak. And there's the adult with the red beak. And you can see how that red-beaked adult there is busy picking at a scab. Can you see the scab there? You often find that oxpeckers will keep the scabs or sores open on giraffes, and giraffes do get some sores on the neck, sometimes from thorns that they might, when they run through bushes, they might rip themselves open, and the oxpecker will keep that scab open. And those of you out there know, if you pick scabs, you tend to leave quite a bad scar, and it doesn't heal very well, and the oxpeckers will do that and move between giraffes, and they can quite often transfer a type of sort of skin herpes to another giraffe called papillomavirus, and that often can look really quite gross on the skin. And there we got one right around the bottom area where the juiciest ticks will be found. Look at how nimble they are along the tail there. Their zygodactyl feet, which means 2 toes forward, 2 toes back, enable them to grab on. Oi, can't hold on to that. Try and hold on to a swinging giraffe's tail. Not possible. Nikki, it's hard to say whether the giraffe likes the birds on them. You'll often find them swatting them away. Dave, I'm going to go forward. We need to go left here, Davy. Have a look at that. While we talk about whether giraffes like that or not, let's have a look at the golden orb in the sky. So it's difficult to say whether they do like them or not, but they do serve a very important function in removing the ticks. It's very hard for an animal like a giraffe to get removal of ticks on them, and high tick loads can lead to lowering in condition because the ticks are constantly sucking your blood. So if you don't get them removed, you're not going to be in the best health. But they do annoy them sometimes. But there's really nothing that can be done. You can swat at them and shake your head, but they just come straight back. Splendid that we get paid to wake up every morning, Dave, and look at that, eh? Look. Morning chorus. Here's some francolins, some hornbills. And the giraffe has got his head deep, deep, deep in what from here looks like a sickle bush. And probably one of the most inaccessible plants. The greenery all around waiting for the rays of the sun to produce their photosynthesis. Life on Earth is all determined by that ball you see rising there. And the green in the plants is the chlorophyll, which reacts with sunlight and water and carbon dioxide to create all of the food that we need to survive. Okay, so it seems like James has managed to find some more leopard tracks. Let's go over to him and see where they're headed.
Hello everybody, we are here lying on the road. Well, it's quite early morning, it's a good time to have a small lie on the road. But what we have is 2 male leopard tracks here, and we've been following them now for about 10 minutes, and they've come from not far from where I first saw you, so in the sort of middle of Djuma, and they've crossed out into Torchwood, which is the reserve to the east of us. So we can't go there, but obviously this leopard can. Now, what's interesting about these male leopard tracks is that this is the path that Tingana often used to follow. Now, if you are a new viewer, Tingana, a dominant male leopard until very recently, when things have got a little bit sort of unsettled with the incursion of a male called the Hukumuri male. Now, we think Tingana is around about 11 years old, so he's not too old to be holding a territory. We think he got a bit sick. Well, I think he got a bit sick, and that's why the other male managed to come into this area. But this is very much a Tingana marking path. And I wonder if he's not sort of getting back to his best, as it were. So he's headed off into Torchwood. I'm not sure what he's doing there. I hope that he's marking territory. I think this is Tingana. I could be wrong. It may well be Hosana, Tingana's son, but I guess we won't know today. There's been absolutely no sign of the lions that I heard this morning, which means that my hearing is not perhaps as accurate as I thought it was. We'll head up towards Biffle's Hook waterhole, which is not too far from here, and see if they haven't popped out there. But I'm quite distressed that I haven't even seen one track of theirs. And if I managed to spot a leopard track, you would assume that if the lions had walked anywhere near where I've been, well, I'd have seen them too. The sun is about to rise, which is gorgeous. Oh, and there's some elephant tracks here as well. Lots going on this glorious morning. I forgot to tell you, and I do apologize for this before somebody jumps on my head. You can, of course, ask questions, which most of you know, using the hashtag #SafariLive or the chat stream on YouTube. I'm sorry I'm supposed to tell you that in my introduction, but I neglected to do that because I'm a bad person. Aren't I, Senzo? Apparently the other presenters said it because they're better people than I am. We can see the sun popping up there. I'm just trying to get an actual view. Can you see it there, Senzo? You got it? Go back a bit. Yes? Oh, there it is. Behold, the great orb of life. All right. We're going to go back to Steve now. Apparently he has a giraffe and the sunrise, both of which are better than the picture that we're able to produce.
Yes, indeed, here he walks into the sunrise shot. What a beautiful, beautiful animal that is. And he is looking over our shoulder. Possibly he's seen the bushwalk team, we're not sure. But as he goes back to his morning breakfast of sicklebush. Not at all bothered by the very sharp spines that the sicklebush has. He's not too interested in the sunrise either as he turns his back to it. You see the sort of misty haze in the valley beyond. Marvelous how he just disappears inside the bush there. Ruby, giraffes gets about 5.5 meters in height, which is enormous. Enormous. They are the tallest mammals in the world, land mammal. And this guy is about as big as they come. He's a fully grown male. And it's very difficult to judge unless you go and stand next to him to actually see how tall they are. I'd only come up to his armpit. Classic ruminants. Giraffes will feed, stick their head into this tree, get as many leaves out as they can in one sitting, or standing in the case of the giraffe, and then while the temperatures are cool, they do their feeding, and then they can go and sit in the shade when it gets warmer and re-chew the cud, maximizing the benefit out of all of the plant particles that they are eating on. Robin, that's a very good question. I don't actually know what the purpose is of the mane. I mean, it's possibly it breaks up the sunlight on the back. I know for a fact that you can tell the condition of a zebra by the quality of the mane. If the mane is standing upright, you know the zebra's in good condition. If it starts to get a bit saggy, then you know he's losing condition. But the purpose of it, I don't know. Maybe it's a very old method of us holding on to them when we ride them. Dave chuckles in the background. I don't know. That's a very good question. I've never considered that. I've always thought it quite pretty, though. Okay, so he's staring off to the right into an area where we had alarm calls earlier of a predator. Now he's looking at us again. He's looking at Dave the meat eater. Giraffe can be quite reliable when it comes to identifying predators because they'll just stare at them for as long as they need to. But he's looking in every direction. Obviously, he puts his head down to feed. So every now and again, he wants to put his head up and just make sure nothing is trying to sneak up on him. Oh, did you hear the brown-headed parrot calling there? That high screeching, rusty-gated sound. Very good. I've been trying for weeks to try and get a brown-headed parrot on the camera, but we never get it. Jedi Jane, giraffe have got a couple of predators, namely lions. Lions in prides will pull down big males, but a giraffe this size, he's really got not too much of a threat unless a pride attacks him and they've got a male or two with them because he's very big, he's very powerful. But younger giraffes definitely fall prey to prides or lions, and what we've seen in the Mara 2 times in February was a leopard with a young giraffe up a tree, which is just ridiculous. It's been recorded previously in the Sabi Sands, a giraffe, baby giraffe up a tree with a leopard, but I think that is insane. But lions are the primary predators of giraffe. I've never known of hyena to manage to get a giraffe, but when they are younger, their parents can be quite protective. How a leopard managed to kill 2 young giraffe up there is very hard for me to understand, and then to still drag it along and tree it up. Because a young giraffe, a baby giraffe already weighs 100 kilograms. So I find that quite something. But yeah, definitely their primary predator is indeed lions. But it's not always that easy for lions. They've got to jump up 2.5 meters at least to be able to get onto the top of the rump, to be able to get some weight to pull it down. Okay, well, it seems Ralph is still in his search for hyena and whatever else. He's at Gallagher Pan. Let's see what he's found.
Yes, everyone, and here we are at Gallagher Pan, just behind the Djuma Lodge, and just in front of me over there, well, with the beautiful sunrise, and just off to the side, we've got the Mlolwati drainage line that we're going to now start looking along for these hyena. Now, chatting to everybody around, Aubrey included, and also Ferg, the cameraman, it seems there is a lot more activity of the hyenas, so, and that particularly around camp, calling in the early hours of the morning, maybe also coming a little bit around the dustbins, which is a good sign that they're possibly moving a little bit more into the area and potentially having one of their den sites relocated into the site. So that's what we're going to do. We've been hearing quite a lot of birds. Obviously, all the francolins and everything, they're one of the first to get going in the morning. But we just heard some arrow-marked babblers. We're also hearing the bearded woodpecker doing his territorial knocking, which is that on a nice hollow branch, which they often do early in the morning as well. The hornbills, one of the first to get to flight, and you see them with that very lazy, typical flight of a hornbill. Flap, flap, cruise, flap, flap, cruise. Right. I think we're going to start heading down towards the Mlolwati here, pick up on some more of those tracks. We've got some fresh tracks coming down from last night. There's also the elephant tracks that we're seeing here around the waterhole. Now, I know that Steve and Ferg yesterday, they did pick up a small breeding herd of elephants, and I believe it's these guys making quite a bit of scuffles or scuffs of the soil here next to the water. Very flat next to water holes. So often it's almost like concrete. You can't really pick up real tracks, the exact impressions. But like here, you can see a nice smallish elephant track, but it's a bit of a twisted movement. And when they come next to the water, you often see these sort of scratch marks and scuffles as they drink and they play and they do all sorts of normally a bit of pushing and shoving of each other next to the waterhole. And obviously we've also got the dung which they've dropped, but you can see it's not very fresh. Sorry, Ferg, I get you going back there again. But pressed open, probably guinea fowl, some of the hornbills as well, opening up, looking for all those little insects and grubs that also start to climb inside elephant dung. Now, for me, elephant dung, people often get scared or when we talk about dung or picking it up, but I just love the smell of it. It's like a barn where you've got hay, and it always reminds me of the times when I was in Namibia. We used to use it a lot for insect repellent, especially the flies during the day. And so what you do is, when you get a nice dry piece such as this, you would light it, and it just smolders. So lots of smoke, and then you can lay it next to you in a few different points. You can lie down, and then these little mopani bees, which are really irritating, especially in the desert, climbing in your nose, in your ears, in your mouth, it can literally drive you insane. So if you put quite a few of these with a little bit of smoke coming off of it, smelling quite nice like incense, it deters those flies quite nicely. So lots of different uses for elephant dung. They also make a nice little bit of paper out of it, and so there is lots of different uses. But I just love the smell of it, and get it on your fingers and make it feel quite nicely. So, everyone, I think it's time to actively start seeking out these hyena. I think we're in with a good chance. Let's head off, and while we do that, let's head you on over to James, who's also on the move.
Well, we had a bird there, and then we had another bird, and that flew away too, and now we've got a stick to show you. How wonderful. Gorgeous. Well, fear not, we're at Beefle's Hook Waterhole, and what we'll go and do is see what's in the waterhole. I think we know what's in the waterhole, and then I'll tell you a story about what's in the waterhole, if that's okay with you. Just watch my signal here, Kirsten. Is it okay? Okay. Well, we are on Rusty. She's better than most. Okay, here we have Biffle's Hook pea soup, as I now like to call it, because that is the colour of the water here, pea soup. Reminding me, as many of you know, of my mother's post-Christmas pea soup. Now, let us see how the parents are doing. How many small gooselings do we have? I believe it is still 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to have to eat my words. I've decreed these 2 Egyptian geese the worst parents at Djuma, so I've watched them lose countless clutches. But there they still have their 8 little babies swimming around in the pea soup. Little bits of green algae on their bills, because they will of course be eating all of the green algae. Now, yesterday at our morning meeting, which we have unsurprisingly every morning, VM made an announcement. Now, VM doesn't normally say anything in meetings. He normally just sits still and looks sort of longingly at the breakfast table, hoping that the rest of us will stop yakking away. You know, yesterday he declared that the hippo in Biffle's Hook Dam can no longer be considered content for a show because they are so boring. And so if VM comes past this waterhole, we will not be looking at the hippo because he has decreed them not content worthy and beneath his contempt as far as filming goes. Which I thought was quite a stern thing for someone like VM to say. Nevertheless, that is what he said, and he meant it. I do kind of sympathise with him at the moment. They're not exactly behaving like porpoises, are they? There's always potential, says Kirsten. Yes, well, there's always potential. If you look at a building for long enough, it'll fall over. Okay, let's go across to the left-hand side there. There are some beds. A bed, a blacksmith lapwing. Normally black and white, today gold in the sunrise. And in front of that, we have a number of terrapins. You see the terrapins there, Senzel? With their heads out of the water. Yeah, no, it's not rain, Snazzy. There's no rain here. You're wondering, oh, that's a gorgeous picture of a terrapin. You're wondering if the sort of ripples on the water are made by bugs or rain. I think it's actually bubbles from air being trapped underneath the algae. Now that terrapin is a carnivorous creature, so I suspect it's eating some form of insect larvae that are feeding off the algae there. I think that's what's happening there. Linda, I don't think so. I mean, I imagine in sufficient volume it might be. You say, is the algal bloom toxic for any animals? Not that I know of. And it's funny how brief it will be. It won't be like this for long, I don't think. In my memory, these green pea soup algal blooms tend to occur for sort of a week or two and then they disappear. I suspect if something like a kudu or an impala came down and drank too much of it, they probably wouldn't feel great. But they'd probably just break it off the surface and then drink from underneath it. So that's what's happening here. And I think possibly beholden on me once more to mention Safari Lives, which of course is our Saturday afternoon show, slightly different from normal, lots of highlights from all of the character stuff that we've had this week. And this week it will feature Hothana, Tundian Cub, and the conflict of the male leopards, Tingana and Hukumuri. So that's at 4 o'clock Central African time on Saturday afternoon. Now, there have been a number of you who've been quite, well, shall we say, less than enthusiastic in your receipt of the news of Safari Lives. I would ask you, please, to just give it a chance. Let's see what happens. See if you watch the first episode and don't enjoy it before casting too strong a judgment on our broadcast of Safari Lives. Now, we had a question about whether or not there are water snakes here. Who was that from, Kirsten? Ginger. You wanted to know if there are water snakes. No, not here. You'll probably find them in the sea off the coast of South Africa. I've never seen one. But many snakes, of course, can swim. And I've seen puff adders and pythons. May have even seen a cobra having a little dip now and then. So they can swim. And so you could, in theory, find one in the water if you were swimming across here. You wouldn't want to, of course, swim headlong into a puff adder, I don't think. No, that would be very unpleasant. Right, you can see the sun is now shining on my face. As it does so, I think it's time to move off. There are no lion tracks or any evidence of lions here, so I'm really distressed at how pathetic my ability to place them with my ears was this morning. Now let us go back to Ralph, who is seeking out the impossible with a man who could probably find the impossible.
Yes, everyone, and Aubrey's brought us just along the Mlawati River, but we're coming to a massive termite mound where the hyenas have denned before. Now, we're just being a little bit careful, because if they are here, we could be a little bit tricky, so we just want to go in nice and slowly, carefully. We don't want to scare them if we obviously find that they are here, so we just want to move in slowly. And come with us, because let's have a look at this massive termite mound. Whether they're here or not, it's still fascinating. It's normally formed by, aardvark who would have dug some of the burrows. Maybe some warthogs would have utilized it as well, make those holes a bit bigger. As I say, we're just going in a bit carefully now, and we'll start to see if there's any tracks. There is a little bit of movement here. We just need to be a bit careful when we do come up and around, because if we see one of those heads poking up out of that hole there, we don't want to be right in the face of it, that they're coming straight at us. And I'm going to just go up a little bit around the side here. Something has been going in and out of there, but it might not be hyena. I'll come up around the top. Very active here. Not sure. Ferg's just getting stuck in the trees there with his big antenna. See there has been lots of activity in here. I'm trying to make out, it might be something like a porcupine. You see a nice, if you look down there, it's actually flat pads there. So, and that's quite fresh. So something is inside here. I'm not quite sure if it's hyena. I don't think so. I think it might be more likely to be something like a porcupine. But you can see all the different colour of that soil that's around here. A lot fresher. It's been burrowed out a little bit more. It's a nice fresh burrow here. But I don't believe that it is in fact hyena just yet. So this is one of the sites that they've been. Michael, you obviously know this den better than me. I've never been here, and you're saying that this is one of your favourite. Well, it's a massive one. So it would be great if they are here, but I don't think they're here. This is another animal using this site. So I think the search continues. Let's move on. Ferg, I'll take you around an easier route with those branches. Let's head on here. Wow, that's a big termite mound. Massive, with lots of holes on each side. They've probably got a whole system going in there, a whole sort of rabbit warren below this soil there. On the inside, a whole network of tunnels, and most likely a big chamber somewhere in there as well. But it's huge. That's like a whole condo for whatever animal moves in there, and that could be used over the next couple of 100 years. So you see how important termite mounds are, not only for turning over the soil, bringing up nutrients to the surface. Then you've got a place for animals that will just continually use that. Firstly, starting with the aardvark, maybe moving on to warthog then, and then hyena, leopard, lion. Carla, you want to know about porcupines and their daily activity, or when are they active? Porcupines generally nocturnal, so mostly you'll find them walking around at night, and that's why I think that porcupine is probably gone in there now and taking up his rest, and he'll probably come out again tonight. But we'll come back here at some stage and see if that termite mound is still being used, because these hyenas could move in and out. They can move to different places. Even lion, leopard, all sorts could use that as a denning spot as well. It's absolutely fascinating. So the search continues. Let's move on, and while we do that, let's head on back to James, who once again is also on the move.
Yes, well, I must be on the move, everybody, because there was nothing going on at Beef Hook Dam. And so we have come down towards the drainage system where Tundi was a few days ago. She's not here anymore. She's in Torchwood. And I'm still just trying to see if perhaps there are some kitty cat pride tracks around here somewhere. There don't seem to be. But there's a lot of gorgeous bird song, so let us have a listen. Ooh. Robins. Pretty sure that's a robin. Franklin alarming. Franklins. There's an orange-breasted bushrat going. Oh, and there's a ground hornbill going hoodoo, hoodoo, doo, hoodoo, hoodoo, doo, hoodoo, hoodoo, doo, hoodoo, hoodoo, doo. There's not a robin calling, I don't know, it must be a robin. I also spotted another small bird gleaning from the leaves top of that marilla tree, but I can no longer see it. Perhaps it was but the wind. Alrighty. Viola, you say what a lovely day. It is a lovely day indeed. It is one of those perfect autumnal days that we get here. I really quite enjoy this time of year, April and May. A little chillsome in the morning, very pleasant throughout the day, and pretty balmy in the evenings. Just a lot more gentler time of year than the middle of the summer, where by 8 o'clock in the morning you want to be in an ice bath. Right, Steve Ovo has been off the car, and I think he's been off the car because he's been looking for footprints, and now he is going to tell you about those footprints.
Indeed, we have found some footprints of what seems to be a young male leopard. Here we can see the back pad over here, the toes heading in this direction. Here is the front foot, and there's the back foot. He's moving down this hill pretty quickly, and we've been tracking, moving up and down. And he went down the road here, did a bit of a sniff. The tracks were moving quite quickly, and here we have him again coming back up the road. You can much easily see. Here's the the front foot now, and the back foot is on top of it. And he's heading in this direction. It's very fresh, and we're right here by the bush braai site. Jared was very correct this morning in telling me he had alarm calls coming from here, and I've tracked him a little bit, and he's disappeared into the thickets, heading in a sort of a south direction. So we're going to drive around the block onto Philemon's cut line. I'll give you a quick idea on the map, which I can't see at the moment, so don't worry. But Philemon's cut line, and that is just down on that side. So we're going to drive around and see if we can find where he might have come out. He's definitely moving with some purpose, and we had these tracks initially outside of camp. They were running this way and then coming that way, and so I'm glad we've managed to find some fresher signs of him, and now a good general direction. It's quite tricky when a leopard is moving up and down to know which is the fresher of the tracks and which is the final direction that he took. Sorry, Dave. That was a marula route. Gave us a little bit of a bump. But generally, once they start moving off into the bushes, they keep going in a general direction. And that direction is heading pretty much straight towards Treehouse sort of dam area. So we're going to go around onto Philemon's cut line and see if he maybe materializes out there, and then take it from there. Marvelous morning. Yeah, so looking at the track, it is a male leopard track. The reason I say male leopard track, here are some more tracks going in the opposite direction. Let's see if I can get you one in the light here and show you why indeed. Can you see those there, Davy? Okay, well, looks like Ralph's finally managed to find his hyena. Let's go to him quickly.
Okay, everybody. We've just been walking up the trail and we've had some success. We've spotted now 2 hyenas. We've just woken them up in the bush here next to us. Now we do just need to be a little bit careful as we move forward here, because they're a little bit skittish, so I do want to go forward a little bit, but we go forward very slowly and we just be careful. The first one bumped up from just next to the bush over here, so we've got 2 now in the area. Hopefully we're going to be able to find some more, and hopefully the den as well. So we're just walking up a little bit behind them. We don't want to push up too tight, because they can get a little bit aggressive. But generally, they're quite skittish around humans, especially on foot. So we just keep an eye out, though. So we are just heading up. And I think this is real success. I think we're going to be able to find it in sooner or later. The one hyena looked a little bit dark, like he had some blood on his face. Maybe a fresh kill around. I say he. They were quite big, so they were probably both females. And that's good news as well, because remember, the males won't be really near to the den site. The females, big ones especially, more dominant ones, they're going to be the ones that are potentially near to the den. Okay, I'm not sure how far they've run off, so we might need to just do a little bit more tracking, just try and catch up with him a little bit. But this is very exciting, because we've been because having spotted them already, we're on the right trail, and I think we've got real chance of finding this den. So while we continue, try to get a little bit closer, get some more clues. Let's send you back to James, who's got a bit of prey.
That's very exciting, that hyena news, I must say. Well done, Ralph. We do have a bird of prey. You're right. We had, of course, these things never sit still for any length of time, but we flushed an African hawk eagle, and then Senzor spotted its partner, and that's the partner there. That's a gorgeous picture of an African hawk eagle. They have a nest not too far from where we are now, and they'll be looking for guinea fowl or francolins to hunt. And they hunt as a pair. It is very interesting how all of the eagles here just got a very slightly different feeding niche, or trophic niche as we call it. And despite the fact that they look pretty much similar, they have different strategies, and they take advantage of different pieces or different parts of the ecology when it comes to eating their food, which is of course why they are different species. And these chaps hunting birds in pairs. Snazzy, you say you love their talons. Well, that's because you're not a francolin or a guinea fowl, Snazzy. If you were, you wouldn't like their talons at all. Their talons are particularly impressive, not quite as impressive as those of the crowned eagle, however, which has got even bigger talons and even more powerful tarsal muscles, which means that it's able to clamp those talons right through the skull of their monkey prey, which is quite something. Not so this African hawk eagle. They are slightly more gentle, not much more gentle. I think she's looking, or he or she is looking for a partner who's flown off onto another tree. George, you're wondering if these hawk eagles are sexually dimorphic. There we go. Oh, wonderful. Okay, I think they've reunited now. They aren't, George. I'll show you a picture. What you would find, though, probably, is that Mrs. Hawk Eagle there is larger than Mr. Hawk Eagle, and so she is able to impose her will on him quite easily. I don't think that's why she's bigger. I don't actually know why she's bigger. I can only think, and it happens a lot in the eagle species, I can only think it's because she has to carry eggies. So there are two types of hawk eagle. The airs, which apparently we get here but I've never seen, and the African. There we are. And you can see that there is no sexual dimorphism there, and I'll just quickly read it. No, they're the same. Female often more heavily spotted than the male. That's interesting. Okay, so if you saw them sitting next to each other and one was more spotty than the other, then I guess you could probably tell that that was the female. Alrighty. Marvelous. Yes, by two. We'll just have a quick look behind this bush and see if we can't see them both. Oh, there they are. Well, there's one of them. Can you see it there? Tamsy, you're wondering how many different birds of prey we have here. Well, while we try and see if that's the same bird or not, I'll count them for you. Let's include the vultures, shall we? So we've got 5 vulture species, so that's 5. We've got possibly 2 kite species, so that's 7. We've got 2 snake eagle species, so that's 9. We've got a batelier, so that's 10. We've got, I think it's 8 eagle species. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Yes, 8 eagle species, so that takes us to 18. Then we've got 1 buzzard species, so that's 19. We have got, well, potentially 2 buzzard species, so we'll call it 20. We've got, now we go to the accipiters, we've got a lizard buzzard, a black-shouldered kite, so that's 22. We've got all 4 of these guys, so that's 26. We've got 2 of those, so that's 28. And then we have got probably maybe a harrier once or twice, so that'll be, and that one, so that's 30 odd. We're only going to count 1 harrier. Bathawk potentially 31. Gymnogene 32. Now we go on to the falcons. Cuckoo hawk, yes, potentially, what we want, 33. Falcons, we've got probably 2 or 3 falcon species, so that's 36. Maybe an African hobby, so we'll call it 34. I'm going to say 34. Potentially 34 birds of prey. Oh, I was at 36 earlier, so I'm going to say 37-ish. Okay. It's quite a few birds of prey, really. Now, from my superb counting skills, we're going to go back across to Ralph's possibly more superb hyena tracking skills.
Thanks. And, well, everyone, have a look at this. We were talking about looking for some clues, some signs that the hyenas will be in the area and a den site. Well, we've just had an amazing clue in actually spotting 2 hyena. 1 big female and a second one slightly smaller. They got surprised by us, so they were obviously sleeping, jumped up and ran off. The other one got a fright from the other one running and sort of ran towards us with quite a bloody face and then ran off as well. So we're in the direction and a little bit off where they ran towards, but Aubrey thinks he may know a site where they might be denning. But here, this is very old dung, or actually scat, that we talk of carnivores. This is old, but it just does indicate that the hyenas are in the area. Now, something very interesting is you see how white it is. A lot of calcium in the diet, eating lots of bone, and well, when it dries out like this, then it turns white. When they first defecate, it's very black, and then it's got a very dark green sheen to it, and depending on how much blood they've eaten, it will depend on how green it is as well. And then as it oxidizes in the sun, as it dries out, it starts to turn white. And I do want to indicate to you, it's almost rock hard. It's like concrete. There we go, it breaks open, and if we break it open even more, there is literally nothing in there. No bones, no teeth, no hooves. They have turned it into powder. It is incredible, the stomach acids of a hyena. They'll even digest teeth and turn it into this kind of powder. You do see the odd hair, but I think that might be a lot with them also licking their coats and a little bit left over. But really, it is ridiculous how they turn that into powder. Now, this isn't extremely old because there's still that little bit of greenness to it. So it hasn't oxidized completely. A little bit of greenness in it, that's the blood, also making it that color. And the older it gets, the whiter it will become. And in fact, in the end, it's almost, you could use it as whitewash. It's so fine like that. So, another clue, another signal that there's lots of hyena around here. And there's quite a few of these sort of scat sites around this particular area. So they've been around here. It's obviously one of their sites that they use. And Aubrey's on the trail. We're going to continue a little bit further. Now, that was also a lovely sign that we saw the tracks of a porcupine going into that previous site, and we also picked up a quill. So it's confirmed that site being used by a porcupine. Right, we're going to continue on the way. Let's head you on back to Steve while we try to find these hyena.
Well done, Ralph. I know you absolutely enjoy your hyenas. Well done for finding some on foot, that is always quite special, seeing those individuals like that. Nothing more to update, folks. We've had more tracks, but up and down on the one road. I'm having a look if they cross over here, but I have a very strong feeling there's more than one leopard in the area there, and hopefully we can just find you one. One, I'll take one. I mean, if we can get two, well, even better, but let's just first see if we can get one. Not sure exactly. It's possible even that Osana came down and then went back onto that road up again. We're just going to double check that he didn't come south and cross Philemon's as I was kind of anticipating he might do. But it's possible by the look of those tracks that he might even have head back up towards Vuyatela Dam, if it is in fact still him. And if it is him, his movements are up and down, and he is probably very, very hungry. But I'm taking it from the alarm calls that Jared told us about at about 5:30-ish, 5:15. Probably the freshest sort of sign of him. And then from those tracks, he's headed in this direction. But as of yet, nothing has come out. But we will shortly turn around and head back onto the other road I had the tracks. And maybe we will be lucky. You know, sometimes it becomes quite a guessing game with these cats. You've got to think, like, what is he moving for? Is he moving for water? Is he moving for food? By the way his tracks are up and down, it's definitely indicating that he's hungry and that he's probably moving to eat and hunt. And maybe he's been unsuccessful a number of times, but he is not giving up. I was with him the other day with Ferg. We were following him through the block, and he kept changing his direction. As he sort of noticed the smell of another animal, he would just sort of move in that direction, then he'd suddenly go back this way again. And I was quite sort of awestruck at how far he went and how many times he shifted his course. So absolutely nothing crossing here. So we're going to go up to Vuyatela Dam and go see if maybe he was still walking for the last hour and a half or hour. Maybe that is in fact him attempting again and again to find himself a juicy morsel. Bridge, we do get fireflies in Djuma. I haven't seen any this year. You normally, obviously, you see them at night. Glowworms, fireflies. The glowworms are the male. No, the glowworms are the female, and the fireflies are the male. And my dad, actually, a long time ago, when he was at boarding school, he was a little boy. He was a very naughty boy, I'll be honest. Anyway, the stories I've heard, he was very naughty, and he one night collected a whole lot of fireflies and put them underneath his mosquito net. And you know, those strict boarding school days, it was quite a religious boarding school, Anglican, with monks, I think, as the sort of fathers in charge. And when they switched off the lights, it's very sort of strict, lights off. And when the lights went off, my dad's mosquito net, bling, just became a neon light in the dormitory. And no doubt he got himself into even more trouble. But I haven't seen a firefly this year. But we do get them. Definitely nocturnal. Okay, so it looks like Ralph has found another animal on foot. Let's go to him.
Yes, everyone. So here we've found a couple of female nyalas, and that's a very good indication. You see, when we're out on foot, they generally are a lot more skittish. And nyala are one of the animals that you can actually normally get very close to on vehicle, and they also get very comfortable around lodges and so on like that. So a very good indication. When animals see people and these two legs, this weird, strange animal walking upright on two legs, the evolution of the progression of hunting and humans persecuting wildlife, well, they're so in tune with that as soon as you're on foot, they run off a lot quicker, and very indicative with nyala. But what beautiful young females those were, and that lovely brown fawny colour as opposed to the real grey-black colour of the males, and almost double the size. It's fantastic. So we're looking for hyenas, but we're not going to not stop for the stuff in between. It's for me, bushwalks, this is what you got to do when you're out in the bush. And let's hope if you one day come to Africa, you get to experience game drives for one, but you got to go on bushwalk because you're in the middle of it. You're in the grass. You're feeling the smells. You're feeling the ground. You're really in the thick of it. And for me, there's no other way to experience it. You have to do it if you can, obviously. But it's fantastic. Wondering about my favorite smell in the bush? Well, John, there's a few of them. Lots of different herbs that we find when we're going around. You know, the wild basil, always a lovely smell to have. The potato bush that we often smell in the evenings, especially now in autumn, as they start to respire. And you smell, it's like freshly cut potatoes. I would say that is one of my favorite smells in the bush. And, well, you know what? When I'm looking for a hyena, one of the favorite smells is, it's not a very nice smell, but it's still one of my favorite, and that is rotting carcass, because that's when we know we're getting closer to the den. So, speaking of getting closer to the den, I think we need to push on, because the sun's getting up, the walk is getting a little bit later, and we need to start finding that den. So, while we're talking about favorite smells, let's head you back to Steve and find out what his is.
So you wanted to know about tracks and if it is male indeed, and it's getting quite difficult to know who is who in the zoo at the moment because there are leopard tracks everywhere. We've come on another road now, and here is the back pad of the leopard track, and you can clearly see the toe is very wide in the track there. Can you see that? There's the toes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the back pad, and the toes are very, very wide. Noticeable in the sand. It looks very, very wide, whereas the females have got very slender toes. The toes and the back pad kind of match up, but sometimes it's difficult to see that when the substrate is quite hard. But in the sandy soil, you can see that the male's track splays out nicely, splays like very, very wide like that, whereas the females are quite narrow. So there's another set of leopard tracks heading up this direction. So we're trying to make head or tail of what's going on here with these leopards this morning. And it appears as if all the leopards have decided that today is the day to come and join us back in Djuma. So let's see where in fact these go. And these do, I don't know. I'm not going to assume whose tracks these are. I'm really not going to assume. It might be Tingana that came all the way in and then he went back out again on Central. It might be Hukumuri who's decided, hang on, what's going on? I want to also have some fun. And the tracks up there by camp are very, very most likely, very, very most likely, how's my English? Hosanas. So, but I really could not tell you from a track if it is or which species it is, or which sex it is, but definitely male or female. And we're going to keep following these. They seem to have, no, they're still there. Still on the road. Very sort of characteristic sign of a territorial male that walks along the road. Very, very characteristic for them to walk along the road for either for hunting or for scent marking. My favorite smell in the bush, so I didn't get the name of that person, but it's it's the wild basil, not the wild basil, it's the dwarf sage is my favorite. John, dwarf sage is my favorite smell out here. I will attempt to try and find you some this morning, but we don't get too many of them up on the slope, so we need to get quite moist sort of drainage areas. I'll ideally try to find you some. It's a very, very good plant. It's very good for clearing the sinuses. Okay, I think we're going to be lucky this morning, folks, because there are just so much activity going around here. I think James might move back into this area and give us a hand. Okay, and while we search, let's go over to James Hendry himself and see what he's up to.
Well, I'm up to no good, I suspect. We did find a few more leopard tracks, young male, but I don't know where they went. And now we are driving over some elephant tracks. It would be very nice to find some elephants at the end of them. I see from the colour of their dung, however, that they're possibly not very close by. Anyway, we'll go down to the waterhole here at Twin Dams and see what's there. Normally when there are so many leopard tracks around, there are no leopards. This just tends to be what happens. Ooh. Let's look at these starlings while we address John's query as to my favourite smell in the bush. Obviously, Steve said his was dwarf sage, did he? I don't know what Ralph said his was. I hope it wasn't hyena dung. Potato bush and rotting carcass. Okay, well, I like the potato bush. It's a quite nostalgic smell for me. That is a Birchall starling, by the way. It has a black eye, so it's easy to identify out here. I think one of my favourite smells is, well, there are lots of them, but the smell of the gardenia bush, or the gardenia flower, is spectacular. It doesn't have a black eye at all. I thought it was a bit small. So I think it's a greater blue-eared glossy starling with its yellow eye. And then there is, of course, any of that sort of jasmine-y type smelling stuff I really love. There is wild jasmine. The forest num-num has a similar kind of a smell. So those are all lovely smells that I like. Then in the winter time, that kind of potpourri smell of the combretum leaves on the ground, mixed in with a bit of dust and dry grass, I enjoy that too. And who can, of course, forget the smell of petrichor, which is the smell of rain on the ground. Little mixed flock of starlings. And absolutely no sign of any lion whatsoever. So where those things were calling from today, I couldn't tell you. Possibly put my radio on scan. Maybe they've found them somewhere else. Now, who cares? You want me to show you a potato bush? Who cares? I bet I can. Let me move forward. I'll find you one down in the riverbed here. They are distinctly unimpressive, actually, as the bushes go, and it's difficult to find the actual smelly bits. Let's see if I can't find you one down in the riverbed. I'll stop here. Apparently, Morning Glory, you heard some guinea fowl alarming on the dam cam and some leopard sawing. Well, Steve's on his way, so don't worry about that. Now, follow me. I just don't think we'd get some signal down here, so I'm going to walk down and find you a potato bush. Oh. No, that's not one. 1 second. It'd be quite nice if I found a leopard instead. You'd normally find them growing low to the ground around a place like this. Naturally today there won't be any. Can you still hear me, Senzo? Still fine? One moment, here we go. Now, can you hear me? Sorry about that, everybody. I can't find any potato bushes here. I will find you one. There are plenty in this drainage system. So I will find them. Just not right now, if that's okay. Because you will get very bored watching me walk up and down. Anyway, that is the way of things. As soon as you want something, you don't find it. Alright, let's go around and sit on top of the waterhole wall here and see if there isn't anything there. Let me re-plug myself in, otherwise the vicious red-headed harpy in the final control will have something to say. Ali, you want to know if you can eat a potato bush? Well, I suppose you could. It wouldn't be very nice, though. It doesn't taste like potatoes. It tastes like sort of bush, really. The smell comes from a tiny little green flower, which is almost invisible. And they normally only smell in the evenings. You'd expect to find them in this sort of thick, shaded vegetation. Very indistinct. And while you're looking for them, it's a good idea to look for leopards at the same time. George, you want to know why it's called a potato bush? Because it smells like potatoes, George. It smells like a kind of cheap takeout joint when you walk past them in the evenings. They smell like old French fries. Just go along here. No. Alright, let's go back to Steve. He is going at some speed towards the sign of those sawing leopards.
Okay, so keeping my eyes peeled, folks. We got reports from some of the dam cam viewers of audio, should I say, alarm calls coming from the dam. Sorry, I'm not having any eye contact with you right now. My eyes are peeled. There's the guinea fowl. They were alarm calling. Vervet monkeys apparently as well. So let's just find ourselves a little view here. Had tracks of another leopard going up and down. Leopards are all over the place this morning, it seems. They are the guinea fowl. They are looking quite relaxed. Monkeys. Monkeys are calling behind us there in the drainage. We are going to go and investigate. Most likely that the leopard, whatever it was, walked past these guinea fowl. The dam cam is just over here. And we can hear the monkeys alarm calling now in the drainage there. So I was just telling James I was going to check that one road with the tracks and then probably come and have a look at Vuyatela Dam. And monkeys are my most favorite of the alarm calls because they are very reliable. Hold on, Darby. We are in the river, in the dam itself. It's a very exciting leopard morning. Let's have a listen. Hear them calling up in the trees. Hold on, Davey. Ravinda, you reckon it's Hukumuri? Well, I would not guess at the moment, but that could be a very good guess. The amount of tracks that I saw there, it's possible that Tingana came in last night and hot on his heels was the interloper Hukumuri to try and reassert his dominance. And he would have been walking right behind on the trail. but there are so many tracks. It's very hard to assume. Keeping our eyes very well peeled. There's no guests in Vuyatela Lodge at the moment, which we're quite fortunate about. Where is the bushwalk team? I think they were quite close to Gallagher Kirst. Here's the monkeys just here. Monkeys are just there in the tree. That leopard sounds like it's in camp. Those monkeys are alarming inside Vuyatela. I reckon whatever leopard that is has come back to see our staff village. You can see that monkey's looking in this direction, but the ones that are calling... Okay, there's a bushbuck calling up on the hill here, or Nyala. So Nyala inside the camp there. Very cute monkey indeed. Some squirrels alarm calling up ahead here. This could get a bit thick. Shot there, Darby. This is going to be very tricky. Let's just have a listen, see if we can at least find where he is. Which is the monkey alarm calling? Don't know where they're looking. Sorry, man. Don't know where they're looking. Okay. Well, let's go back over to Ralph while we try to figure this out and see what he's up to.
Well, everyone, we're still trying our best to find a hyena den, and we've been to another site which is old and dilapidated, another very big termite mound. There's not anything happening there. So we've come out onto Gallagher's shortcut. Aubrey's, as I said, he's been here for a very long time. He knows all the normal regular spots where the hyenas den. So he's taking us to another big termite mound where there's potential that they might be denning there. But having come out here onto Gallagher shortcut, we've picked up on some fresh leopard tracks. So just over there, and I'm going to circle it so you can actually see it nicely. And what I will do is, as well, I'll try to put just a little bit more shadow on it, and that might help to show you a little bit better. We're talking in that particular zone right there. But the shadows are actually quite nice on it at the moment, and you see those very sort of straight edges leading us to think that that's a female. And 1, 2, 3, 4 toes, so nice and fresh right on top of the vehicle tracks, and we're going to follow up on that as well as we're on our way to see if we can pick up on the hyenas as well. So this is very exciting. This is why I love being out on foot. We can hear for miles in every direction, so we'll pick up if there's any alarm calls as well. And you know, with the vehicle you're driving along, yes, you do hear the alarm calls, as Steve and James have been picking up, but they're not going to pick it up as easily as we will. So that's why, for me, the only way is up here, hamba now, on foot. Let's keep going. We'll continue along the road. But she's been walking straight along the road. As we came out, we picked up her track, and wonderful to see. We're also seeing some zebra tracks that are walking along here. I think they did see some zebra out on quarantine yesterday. I still haven't seen any elephants since I've been back, but lots of tracks around. So maybe we'll see some of them as well. There's a little bit of a wind picking up now as that sun's getting up. So, as I say, let's continue. Maybe we bump into this leopard. We'll follow the tracks, and hopefully we can find that hyena then. But while we do that, let's head you on back to James and see what he's getting up to.
I've come down towards Chitwa, and we're looking at some impala now, standing atop a termite mound. You can hear us? Oh, somebody is flying a drone, and it's not us. It's interesting. Can you hear that, Senzo? Hmm. Huh. Kirsten says it might be a swarm of bees. Pretty sure it's a drone. I'm also pretty sure that I've driven over some baboon dung, because there's a fairly unattractive smell in this vehicle. Now, why would they be standing up there? Well, I suspect it's probably got to do with the time of year. We're into the rut, of course, and so they're trying to make themselves as obvious and king of the castle-ish as possible. So that's why that one is probably up there. Also, of course, the grass and vegetation around a termite mound is more nutritious than that anywhere else. Gizmo, this is quite a common query we get, and this is quite an interesting interaction you're watching there. You want to know if one of those impala might kill the other in a fight over territory and females. Well, in that particular case, yes, it would be possible, because the one on the right is obviously much bigger than the one on the left. And this is a little sparring match. The one on the left wouldn't have a chance against the one on the right, because he's much younger. But Gizmo, by and large, when that one on the right really gets into the serious business of fighting for territory, the chances of him being wiped out and killed by another male, or him doing the same to a competitor, are very small. We do see missing eyes from time to time, but the chances of him actually being killed by a rival are very small. I can see the drone. It is very, very, very high up. I would say illegally high up. I wonder if it's not doing some sort of anti-poaching patrol. That's way higher than anything we fly. Well, that was of course before, prior to Connor's leaving. Connor was not constrained by the niceties of the law. Now we've got some waterbuck on the same termite mound. As the morning heats up, so I'm going to say that the impala was up there more for food than he was to show how big and strong he is on top of the castle. And sorry, yes, I've been reminded, of course, that I failed to think of this particular one. We call them aquabucks now, which I think is a very, very good name for them. Aquabuck. Right, let's leave the aquabucks and go down to the actual aqua, shall we? Oh, we'll look at that aquabuck first. Looks a little bit like a donkey, I always think, the small aquabucks. Oh, they're very sweet little things. I'd say that one's probably about 3 months old. It was quite sort of pleasant looking at two different species in peaceful consort like this bunch are, not fighting with each other. I always quite enjoy that. It makes me feel like life out here is less conflicted than it is apparently when we look at predators and things. YouTube viewer, you've picked up on the most obvious feature of that waterbuck, second most obvious feature, the most obvious one being the ring on its backside. The other is the heart-shaped nose, and interestingly their tracks are the most heart-shaped of any tracks as well. Maybe they should be known as love bucks, not waterbucks or aquabucks. Okay, let's pop down to the water. It's getting a bit warm now. Might have to take my jacket off. Oh, I shall overheat. You wouldn't want that. Senzo is still wrapped up. Oh, he's removing his sugar off himself now. Nicholas, it is 7:30 and the temperature is 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius. There is a hoopoe, 2 hoopoops. You see the 2 hoopoops there? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That is the African hoopoe. Looks quite similar to the European version of the same bird. And apparently Jared, in the final control, all the way from Utah, finds this his favourite bird. Of all the birds in the world, Jared, is this really the most favourite that you have? I think this is one of the first birds I ever learned to identify. Probing away for worms and other invertebrates beneath the soil. It's got very sensitive sensors, I guess you'd say, in its beak, so it's able to feel if there is movement when it probes into the ground. I mean, how on earth it's finding things to eat like that, I just don't know. It seems to be fairly confident in its chosen method of survival. Makes me feel quite hungry watching a bird feeding at this time of the day. Kirsten, what is the predicted weather for today? It feels like it might get quite hot. Phew. I'm told it's going to be 36 degrees or 97. That takes us right back towards summer. Yeah. Wisteria Whisper, you said they have a very different shaped head. They do have a different shaped head, but that's not because of anything other than... Oh, he's found something to eat there. A little beetle, which he's going to pummel. No, what is it? Delicious. The head is that shape because when he or she is alarmed or excited, he or she will raise the crest, and that's very distinctive. Why they should have that crest, I don't know, because both male and female have them. And so when the crest is folded and relaxed, it makes it sort of gives the head this sort of axe-like appearance. I just wanted to quickly check their diet. I mean, yes, insects, larvae, earthworms, small frogs, snakes, lizards, and termites that may be taken in flight. So even with that sharp beak, it's able to hawk insects in flight, which I think is very impressive indeed. Alrighty, and then we'll have a quick look at the playing hippos. There's some youngsters that are having a bit of a game, which of course is content, contrary to what VM might think. And you can just feel how amazingly peaceful this is right now. Very gentle out here. And it is the kind of morning that would make one doze off. I hope you won't doze off while we're showing you all of these pretty things. And the gentle shouting of the hippopotamus. And the question is, where to from here, really? I think we'll explore Chitwa a little bit more. There's no one else here. Everyone's gone hieing off towards the west. I don't know what's there. The radio completely silent here on Chitwa, which is very nice. Right, Ralph apparently is not dozing off, which is important. I've fallen asleep a few times on my feet, and generally results in a grazed knee. So I'm glad that he isn't dozing off. Let's go and find out where he's walking.
Okay, everybody, this is very exciting. We've been walking along this road, following this leopard track, and guess what? Look over there. Look who's sitting on top of that termite mound. Very nice to be out on foot with a leopard. I don't know exactly who it is. I'm getting from FC that it looks like Xidulu. I'm not quite sure. I'm not familiar with all of these leopard, and also from this distance, quite difficult to tell. All I'm going to say is my heart's racing, and it's awesome. So everyone, I'm just going to be keeping my voice very low, very quiet. I just want to enjoy the moment. I'm not going to be talking too much because I don't want to disturb it. It's obviously quite understanding that we're here. It knows that we're here. And I don't want to chase it off. I don't want it to be nervous with people on foot as well. So we won't be going any closer. This is it for us. It was already looking at us with head down, ears back. So that's it. We won't be going closer, and I think we've got a perfect view from here. Don't disturb leopards from any kind of distance. Nice and easy to get close on vehicle, but from here, it's perfect. We've got a perfect view. There's no reason to go any closer. Okay, there is a vehicle coming now on its way, and seems everybody is agreeing that it's Xidulu. Let's see if this vehicle spots this leopard. Maybe it does. I think Aubrey might have let somebody know. It's obviously important that everybody in the area does know that the leopard's here. But we found it. I think that vehicle's going straight past. Wonderful. My first leopard that spotted on foot, and I'm going to have a close affinity with this animal now, because animal on foot, leopard, is absolutely amazing. It's completely different to that on a vehicle, I believe, because we've literally tracked this animal all by ourselves. We haven't followed in on anybody's radio signals or anything like that. We heard some alarm calling earlier, and that's when we saw the track, and that's when we said, let's follow up. Let's see if we can find it. It's nice to know also that I was correct in thinking that it was a female. That's awesome, and also nice and elevated, so perfect for us to be able to see out in the golden sunlight. She's also taken a nice vantage point. Hopefully we'll be able to sit with her for a little while. And she seems to have relaxed with our presence as well. She's not even looking at us. I think she's looking across maybe at that other vehicle that just came past. Who knows, possibly in on the hunt, but difficult for us to follow on foot. We would be having to call maybe one of the other vehicles in if she moves off, that they can follow her. It's not a very good idea to be following up behind a leopard when you're out on foot. But she seems to be relaxed. Thanks everybody, saying that it's a good job. Well, that's what I love doing. I love being out on foot. And this is just an added bonus. But, it's many years of tracking animals like this. And, you put it to good use. And sometimes you just got a gut feel as well that something amazing is going to happen that morning. And this morning, I thought maybe we'll find a hyena then. But, well, I'm not complaining. I'm finding a leopard. There's some more kudu barking off just to our south. It's obviously a bit further away than barking at this animal, so there might be another leopard not too far from here as well. And I've just heard some elephant calling as well. Alright everyone, we might just reposition slightly and just get a slightly better view, but I don't think we'll be going too much closer. Let's head you off on to James, who's got one of those massive lizards.
Ralph is on fire today. Fantastic stuff indeed. We have managed to bump into a lizard, a large water monitor lizard. It is now slinking its way down towards the water, where it will hunt for small aquatic invertebrates and possibly frogs and lizards and maybe even the odd snake. A fantastic thing to have had 4 leopards on foot in the last few days. It really is very special. I'm glad old Ralph managed to get Xidulu on foot. He hasn't met Xidulu yet. I don't think I've met her either. No, in fact I have. I've met her once. And I'm pretty sure Ralph hasn't met her. And what better way than to meet her on foot? We will go back to them as soon as they've repositioned, and Ralph just needs to organise the vehicles so that he or they don't sort of disturb each other. Wonderful hippo sounds in the sun here. And this monitor is probably just warming himself up before he goes into the water. The water will be a little bit chillier this time of the year. And so he'll warm up in the sun for a while, get his metabolism going nice and fast, then he'll go for a bit of a hunt, and eventually he'll have to come out and lie in the sun again. And that cycle will probably repeat itself many times over the course of the day. About 3 feet long, that one. They do get a bit bigger, but that one's probably about 3 feet long. Just emerging now, the tongue sensing all sorts of things in the air. Absolutely, Mrs. Grumpy, you say, would a water monitor eat an Egyptian goose chick? Definitely. But it would be quite difficult for it to get at the Egyptian goose chick. It would certainly eat the Egyptian goose eggs. Alright, let's go back to Ralphie and Xidulu. There's a fish eagle going to... Caught a fish. Got a fish. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Look at that. Another fish eagle coming in. How spectacular. No, it was an Egyptian goose coming in. What is it caught? It is a catfish, isn't it? Or is it a terrapin? No, it's a catfish. But where's its tail? That's a dead catfish. That thing was floating there. There's only half of it left. I think that that's been snapped in half by the crocodiles and it's been left just floating there. And now the fish eagle is going to take advantage of it. In fact, that's almost certainly what's happened. All right, let's go back to the leopard.
Hello and welcome to everybody. We've been out on foot this morning with Safari Live. My name is Ralph Kirsten and we have... Hello and welcome to everybody that's just joined us. You're watching Safari Live. My name is Ralph Kirsten and we've just been following up on hyena dens this morning, trying to find them. We picked up on some leopard tracks, fresh one, nice female, and so we followed up on it, and lo and behold, a little bit later we came across this beautiful female here. Name is Xidulu, and she's sitting on top of a termite mound, quite relaxed with our presence, but this is one of the most amazing ways to find a leopard, and that's on foot. Now, it's always great to find them on a vehicle because you can get nice and close, but on foot is the most exhilarating. And with us having started the trail, and we heard some kudu barking off in the distance, then we got the fresh trail again, and we followed it, and there we spotted her. And so, wonderful, wonderful experience this. And how better to do it than out on foot. She is a good-looking cat, I can tell you that. But, well, as nice as it is here, and Cindy, thanks for your comment saying how beautiful it is, she is in prime condition. And as nice as it is finding a leopard on foot, you can't get particularly close to them for obvious reasons. It's quite dangerous, and they'll also be a lot more skittish to people on foot, those funny creatures on two legs. So from this position here, that's as close as we'll get, but we've always got the vehicles, and we can send you in a little bit closer with one of our other guides who's going to come in shortly. Yes, she seems quite relaxed. When we first saw her, she was quite stressed at our presence, but that's how animals can often be when they see you on foot. Take a little bit of time to relax, and also we just go down so that we're not imposing on the situation. And now she's watching us more than there has now been a vehicle that's come into the area, but she's watching us more than them because she's more worried about us than the vehicle. Okay, so thanks for joining us, everybody. That's the exhilaration of being out in the bush, and especially walking out on foot. Please don't forget to join us once again on the Safari Live, because we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep doing amazing things. See you later. Okay, thanks everybody, and sorry about that. We just had a little bit of a mix-up with communication, but we're back with this, and there's now a couple of vehicles come past, and I think what's most important, we've got Steve just behind us, and he's going to move in now. So let's head to Steve, and I think he's going to move in a little bit closer, and you guys can watch this female up nice and close.
Look who we found in the road. Looks like leopard meat to me. Okay, well, now that Ralph is well done to these boys, well done Aubrey, well done for finding these leopard, this beautiful female leopard. Now, we're going to go in and get you a little bit closer to the Xidulu female who is sitting on top of a Xidulu. Well done, gentlemen. Well done, well done, well done. Ralph looks like he's about to break his mouth. His smile is so large. He was just grinning from ear to ear. That term, grinning from ear to ear, really did apply to Mr. Ralph Kirsten right there. Darby, where do you want me? This side or that side? Okay. Here we have her, folks. We'll just stop there first, eh? Just got her sitting on top of the termite mound. We do have another vehicle that's moved in. He's quite interested as well to see this beautiful female leopard. She's probably going to be a little bit jumpy to start with because she's just seen some people on foot. She's busy watching them depart. I had her with Craig and Herbie not so long ago on foot, and then Scott came in with the vehicle and managed to get very good sighting of her. But it'll just take a few moments for her to calm down again. But isn't she beautiful? I believe she is being identified as the Xidulu. I haven't quite seen the spot pattern yet. She gets a nice vantage point. So we've been tracking male leopards all morning, trying to follow up on those monkey alarm calls, and the monkeys were calling and looking inside Vuyatela camp itself. So Dave and I actually even went into the camp and did a little drive around, but we didn't find anything. So the leopards are being very elusive this morning, the males anyway. No doubt they'd be very interested in this young female, new to the area. How marvelous. Okay, Dave, I'm going to move around this way then. Get us a bit more of a front shot. Okay, she seems to be calming down. She does like Dave and myself. Alma, yes, she is indeed the Disney princess of leopards. And we will try and get you a much better look. There we go, just through that gap, Dave. How's that? There she is. I'm just going to speak on the radio. 2 stations with Xidulu female. Sorry about that. Stay by. Negative. Okay, isn't she gorgeous? Her ears are poised, she's listening. It's becoming such a feature, isn't it, lately, of finding leopards. Just look on the termite mounds, and there you will find them. So once that other vehicle repositions, I will then move around again once they switch off. There we go. Okay, Dave, I'm going to move around again. Get a nice sort of front shot of her. Right there. Isn't she gorgeous? She's very alert. Very alert. As we were racing off to find those, or follow up on those vervet monkey alarm calls, we came off of the road west of camp, and we saw some fresh leopard tracks there of a female. And then when Aubrey and Ralph called in, the sighting all the way along the road to get here, we could see her tracks. directly away from the bush walk team. Unfortunately, she's walking directly north. Northern boundary is here. We're just off the fire break. She's moving directly towards the north, which is a pity because we might lose her to Buffelshoek. Let's see if we can get in front of her and get a nice look. Here is the road, and she's going to go straight across it. Hold on. Sorry about the signal, folks. I do apologize about the shaky signal. We are on the northern boundary, and she is only meters away from it. She's busy sniffing the ground, coming right towards us. Please don't cross the road. Oh, beautiful leopardess. There she goes. Into Buffelshoek. What a pity. Oh, she just tried for a dove. You must be very hungry if a dove is going to serve you any breakfast. Hello, beautiful cat. There you can clearly see the spot patterns, the 5 and 5. What a pity. Come back this way. But that is how it works, folks. If they decide to cross the road, they cross the road. She's definitely interested. It's possible. Oh, is she going to come back? What has she spotted? She's moving just across this way here. Going to move along a road a bit more. Walking, smelling pose. We've seen it before. Okay, well, it seems like we're losing signal, folks, so let's go over to Ralph Kirsten and see how excited he is after that.
So everyone, we've just moved off from that leopard, but while we were sitting with Xidulu, we were hearing off in the distance to our sort of south, we were hearing lots of elephant activity. Now, I don't know if that's elephant on elephant, a little bit of argy-bargy, or whether there's lions there, maybe even a leopard. You know, they don't like those predators being around. But here's a nice indication of where these elephants have actually walked through. Now, to see nice and clearly which direction they've been moving, you can see these half moons all here at the back, on all of them. Over there. Now, sorry if I'm moving a little bit fast with my stick, but they're very deep impression there. Now, I'm just going to step over it and show you with my feet what I do when I walk. Now, I'm doing it obviously overemphasizing, but as I step, and that one steps and drags. Now, we can look at my track. See how that deep impression there at the back, and we've got that scrape mark in the front. Now, you're not always going to see both of those, but you very often, on very hard substrate, you just see that deep impression, half moon at the back. Not always the scrape, because it's very hard here. So you're not going to see the scrape, but you see the deep impression. So they were definitely moving in that direction. And another thing that they were doing was they were swishing their trunks, like this, like this, like this, like this. So you can see here, as these drag marks are coming through, this means that they were in quite a relaxed state of mind as they were walking through here. Because if I'm an elephant and I'm walking like this, I'm going to be very relaxed, aren't I? Because if I'm not relaxed, I'm going to be trunk up, smelling in the air, head up, tusks out, looking, smelling, and in such a phase. So walking like this is a relaxed group of elephants as they were walking through. But when they were calling there just now, they weren't very relaxed.
They haven't switched their car off, so you can probably hear them in the background. But you've just lost sight.